Hey everybody, welcome back to my workroom for another episode of Walkthrough. And by request, I'm going to open up a PlayStation 2 today. Now, I gotta warn you guys up front, this thing, whoever designed and engineered how these things go together is either a complete asshole or an idiot. Or perhaps maybe a little of both, because it's just not designed very well. To be honest with you, these fat PlayStation 2s, I have to admit, I mean, they're not difficult. It's just, you'll see once we get into it, but yeah. Just want to warn you up front that these are kind of a pain in the ass. So, I'm going to go ahead and start out with the first thing that you'll need to do is go ahead and flip the unit over. And you're going to find basically, from what I've heard, there are some units with one here as well, but I've not seen one. So, but there are these little squares, or little covers, and there's 8 of them for basically covering up screws. And so we just want to remove these first. And to remove these, basically what you're going to need is just get a small flathead or something like that, and just get in there and pry them out. Now, you're going to want to keep track of these because the 4 on the corners here have rubber anti-skid on them. So just keep track of those and make sure you put them back in the corners. Otherwise, if you put one of these ones, it's just flat plastic. Yeah, you know, your PlayStation will sit uneven on the shelf or whatever. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get these removed and remove the screws, and I will be right back. Alright, so I've pulled the screws out and I kind of left them here so you can see that this set of 4 are long screws. So keep that in mind, and they're just Phillips head screws, so any old Phillips head screwdriver can take them out. And then over here, these 4 are shorter screws. So remember that when you're putting this back together. And for reference, the power and eject button are on this side over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and set these screws up to the top here. And now, the next thing, you may have one of these stickers on your PlayStation 2. This is basically a warranty protection device put on there by Sony. Obviously, that's going to take me a second to peel up, so I'm just going to be lazy and cut. Otherwise, you may have, you just gotta remove this sticker basically to get the top cover separated from the bottom cover. But yeah, obviously our warranties expire, so that's not gonna be an issue. So now, what you're gonna wanna do is just kind of lift up from the back. It may take a little bit of coaxing here, but you wanna be careful when you're doing this. Come on. Or in my case, it's that stupid sticker. Still holding on. There we go. Alright. So, what you want to do is lift up from the back. I'll show you this again. So, because you've got your CD tray right here that's going to be kind of in the way from you lifting it straight up. So, lift up from the back, pull forward. There we go. And there you go. It's removed. But be careful. You don't just want to pull it up and throw it to the side yet, because it's got something connected to it, which is the power and the reset button. So if you actually look, you see this ribbon cable tape right here. It's easiest to just remove the power and the reset button from the top of the casing, and now you can pull this aside. Well, you know, you could, if you're going to clean it up like I am, because this one is pretty dirty, you can remove this screw right here, and now you can remove the magic gate, or as we know it, the memory card doors. So I'll just pull those out and just be careful. There's little springs on the back of these. Come on. And now that's ready to just be cleaned because this thing is actually pretty gross. So now that we've got that apart, let's go ahead and just pull this off from there, which it usually will be. But now we're going to want to remove some more screws here. These two are holding down your controller ports, so let's go ahead and remove those. Set them aside, and you can pull the controller ports up, and as you can see, there is a ribbon cable right here that is holding them on. That connects them to the board basically. So what you want to do is, let's see, get a flathead screwdriver again. Just kind of gently. Oh, there we go. This is a different kind. So basically the connector pops up rather than pulls downwards. So you just pop that connector up. Be careful, you don't want to break it. And the cable will just slide right out, and you can set that aside and clean it. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and, oh, my screwdriver doesn't fit. Let's try this one. There we go. And remove this screw in between where the power cord connects and the fan, and that will allow you to remove the fan. But you can't remove the fan because there's the cord. The cord actually goes underneath, connects on the underside of this board, so you basically just have to set it out of the way. And then the fourth screw here is holding down power switch, and well, that's usually not how that comes out, but the power switch here can actually disconnect from the fan header here basically, and this one is just not wanting to, so I'm just going to set that to the side because I really don't want to bother with it right now. Now we get into the fun part of this, where people have most of the problems with these. Now, to be honest with you, if your PlayStation 2 is not reading discs, it's most likely because it's dirty. So you're gonna have, I need a smaller step in there. So, basically, most of the problems caused by reading discs on these PS2s is because they're dirty, like this one. So we're just going to remove these 4 screws in this top here. Now we can just pull this little top piece off. Set that aside, clean it. Alright, now you can see the laser assembly. And really, the easiest way to go about this is you probably want to remove the tray. Now, and I'll show you probably the first thing I wanted to really go over, and this is a common problem. I'm going to reconnect the power here, and I'm going to close the circuit. Now we got power, and so I'm going to eject this thing. And it doesn't do it. It doesn't make the noise. Okay. Well, some of you may be familiar with the sound that these things make when you eject them, and that is the farty disc tray noise, and this one was doing it pretty badly. It is not right now, but basically you'd eject the tray and it would make this farting sounds that come out. And this one would even go back in because it wasn't coming all the way out. But yeah, so what I am going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and just cut the power here. So much for that demonstration. I was gonna try to make this a short one, but this may need to be broken up into 2 parts. But there are 2 screws on the upper part here, 2 small ones, that will let you remove the CD tray. So you just remove these 2 small screws. And I believe it's just those 2. I can't see it anymore. And you just should be able to lift it up, pull it forward a little bit, and slide it out. Because your gears, the ejection are on this side over here, so you have to lift up this side. But the reason for that farting noise is this here. And so I'm actually going to show you how to take care of that if that is happening. So I'm just going to set the tray off to the side with those screws for some cleaning. Now, now for the fun part. I really don't want to, but I'm gonna have to, because we really do need to clean up the bottom of this unit, and that is to lift all of this garbage up and out of the bottom of the unit here. So, I mean, you should have, all of those screws should have, let's see, unless this one back here, I think there's one. So there's one right here that you'll have to remove. And that's different from the other ones that we pulled out, it looks like. I'm not quite sure, I'm not going to compare them, but just set that to the side and you can lift it all out as one big unit and move that aside because, yeah, that is covered in dust. And we'll clean that. But now you'll see why I don't like this thing. Because we've got shit all over the place just hanging off. It's really just kind of a pain in the ass if you disconnect it, so it's better to just leave it connected, like the eject button here. I mean, this thing is supposed to be able to come off. There we go. Okay, so finally slid out and I can clean that. But I mean, you got this, your power connector hanging off, your fan hanging off, and so let me show you the bottom side of this whole thing. Just carefully flip it over. Now, the only way to remove the fan would be to remove this power, basically this power supply regulation board that's here via these 4 screws. And then there's a plastic piece underneath that you can remove, and then you can finally disconnect the fan. Now, there's a bunch of cables over here on the side. That if you wanted to disassemble this further, you'd really have to remove this cage right here. And that's done with these 2 screws right here. You can pull that off to the side. But it's just such a pain in the ass that unless you really need to, I wouldn't bother. I'm just gonna blow the dust out of here and call that a day. But yeah, it's just not worth the headache, and now you see why I just do not like the design of this thing. The slims are probably nicer to take apart, but yeah, if you need to. And this one is not reading discs, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and blow out the dust first. That should be your first step if your PS2 is not reading discs. Would be number 1, blow out the dust. And as you see, there's plenty of it here to go around. So I'm gonna hurry and do that with my air compressor, and I will be right back.